Grog.
Hey everyone, it's the Sideshed Podcast, a podcast about the Archers and Ambridge. I'm Peter Fickling, and this week I'm joined with Kerry and Matthew, as always. So, Kerry, I've got some exciting news. One of our regular listeners, aka my wife, has worked out how you can stalk Jay Rayner. Apparently, she's seen him at Herne Hill Market a few times.
What?
Yeah.
Really? This is
So-
amazing. Can she follow him, please, and get his address?
I mean, she's a busy woman, but I'm sure when she hears this, she will understand how important it is to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyone who's got the same kind of fascination with Jay Rayner, there he is. That's where to find him.
Can she also follow him and ask him why he blocked me on Twitter?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, I forgot what this is. What this is really leading to. So yes, I will send her down to Herne Hill Market. We will put a picture of Kerry in front of him. Hopefully, persuade him to leave his wife, and then we'll finally find out what he has against Matthew.
Okay. Good. Actually, now that I'm not working, I could make that my mission. That's what I can do with my time.
Yes,
Go and sit at Herne Hill Market and wait for him, and then pursue him.
I don't think you should, Kerry. I mean, there'll be an injunction coming, won't there?
Yeah. No one will know. I'll do it very subtly, I promise.
It is a very nice market, and there is an outstanding fish and chip shop about 200 meters away. So, it won't be a completely wasted journey.
What's it called? Because he recently wrote a piece about a fish and chip shop.
I think it's called Ollie's, and it is really, really good.
Is it a father and son who have it?
Maybe. But even if he hasn't written about that one, I would argue he's foolish not to, because it's amazing.
Okay, I'll ask him to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this please do report back.
Okay.
So, should we talk about the Archers?
Go on then.
Okay.
Am I supposed to feel terribly upset about Bert dying? I know you sort of mentioned, Kerry, that you had found it quite moving.
Did I?
I
don't remember that.
WhatsApp group, like you said, you were listening to the show, and then something about Bert, and then like something like or some kind of
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I put his name and then one of those sad eye emojis. That doesn't mean I feel anything, by the way.
Oh, okay.
No. It was very strange, wasn't it? Because you could tell, because everyone suddenly kept mentioning Bert a lot.
Yeah, I think it was like one of those superstitious things. If you say good old Bert 3 times, he carks it.
Yeah, that is what seemed to happen. I was like, why is everyone talking about Bert all of a sudden? Something terrible's going to happen to him. And sure enough, it did, in a peaceful kind of way.
Does that mean by definition that something terrible is going to happen to Lizzie, Kenton, David and Shula? Because they were saying, we should do this more often, the 4 of us. Well, Shula wasn't there. She was off on some mission, wasn't she? Doing a churchy harvest.
Yes.
Look out for badgers. They're going to be, they're going to be in trouble as well.
Well, if anyone starts mentioning badgers, you're a boring twat, don't you?
Well, I mean, Brian May wrote that song that just goes badgers, 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 badgers over and over and over again.
It wasn't Brian May.
It was Brian May.
No.
Yeah, he wrote a song that was called Save the Badgers, because he's really into saving badgers, because
I know,
in their later years, both him and Anita Dobson have come to resemble badgers.
Oh, God. I know he's got a thing for them, but he didn't write that fucking song.
He did.
Not that animated one, where it's badger,
I don't know about the animation.
Badger.
Yes, he wrote that. He wrote it. It's Queen-esque, if you listen to it.
Oh, shut up, Matthew.
Is he on your list of approved 70s rockers, Kerry?
Some of their early stuff, maybe.
Someone drove past my apartment the other day and their window was wound down and they were singing full volume along to The Show Must Go On. I was like...
Oh, no. Awful. Yeah, dreadful. No, what about you, Peter? Do you like them?
They're not bad. They're not good. They're all right. Haven't hurt me too much. Freddie Mercury seemed like a nice chap.
Yeah.
I like Fat Bottom Girls.
Yeah, but what about Queen?
Oh. No, I actually really do like that song.
There are a few good ones, aren't there? But you get sick of them after a while, don't you? We Are the Champions. Oh, my God.
Well, you don't get to hear that very often, do you, Kerry?
Ha, ha, ha. Thank you, Matthew. Yeah, I'll let you have that one.
I did say during the week that I would happily see my team go down if it stops Chelsea from winning the league this year. So, yeah.
Anyway.
See, we're already distracted, aren't we? Bert is dead, everybody.
Yeah, I thought it would have been Do you think they told the actor? Because he hasn't been in it for a few years. He was probably like, oh, Bert's doing poetry. He's probably like looking at the upcoming events in the storyline. He was probably like, doing all his vocal exercises in the bathroom mirror and stuff. And then he tunes in. He's literally buying the farm in the Bull.
There was an irony to the fact that over the previous couple of weeks, they tried to give us a kind of greatest hits of what Bert contributes to the village. And for me, they just reminded me everything that bores me and irritates me about Bert.
Mm.
So I kind of like, it was kind of like, it almost preparing me for the death by reminding me why I should be very grateful he's no longer in it. And, I mean, is it fair to say you're either a Joe Grundy man or a Bert Fry man?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, they were the duo, weren't they? Who used to, I was going to say dueling duo. I was thinking of their marrows and things. Yeah. I did wonder whether Jill had killed Bert, though.
Because of the poetry.
Well, on Sunday, she said, if he goes on too long, I'll find a way to cut him off painlessly.
Yeah, I'll give him the hook.
So what did she put in his tea or something?
Yeah, maybe she put some what's it that those lovely lads that went to see Salisbury Cathedral, polonium,
ricin or something.
Right. Just kidding, lads, if you're listening. Obviously we totally believe you went to see it twice in as many days.
I know we don't want to go on another massive segue, but that was beautiful. A chef's kiss to the chutzpah to just look in the camera and go, yes, of course, Salisbury is a great famous city we enjoy to visit.
Yeah, that photo of them sitting there saying it as well, looking just really cash.
But I'm with you, Kerry. Why is there not more suspicion of foul play here? Because Bert dies. He was playing cribbage, wasn't he, with Ben?
Yeah.
Now he'd had a cheese and pickle sandwich, and Jolene had thrown in a pickled egg on the house.
Yeah.
I don't think it's beyond Kenton and Jolene to relabel some dodgy pickled eggs from before lockdown that they weren't able to push. Also, he was in direct proximity to the cribbage board when eating, and the last mention we had of the cribbage board was when Chris vomited all over it.
Yeah.
So maybe they hadn't cleaned up properly.
Yes.
And there was some HACCP rules were broken. And I don't know, like you said, maybe Jill bumped him off, or perhaps Ben bored him to death.
Well, I thought the fact that Ben beat him at cribbage maybe made him die of shock.
Well, one part. Have you played much cribbage?
No, I have seen others do it back in the day when my parents used to go to sort of real ale places where they played folk music and stuff.
One part of the game is the pegging. So I
wonder
if that finished Bert off.
It could have, yeah. But did he actually eat the cheese and pickle sandwiches and the lovely gift of the pickled egg on the house? I don't think he did, because she was rustling them up at the bar, wasn't she, before Ruth then went over. So I think they might be in the clear there, although Ben and Jill definitely are still on the suspect list.
It's all a bit Kipper and the corpse, isn't it, in Fawlty Towers? I don't know if it had got out or not, but I got the impression he'd already noshed them back, but maybe not.
Yeah. What about when Ruth said to Rex, I think it was, I tried to give him CPR and then said, to try to resuscitate him. Do the scriptwriters think no one knows what CPR is?
I guess, I don't know. I like the way that they were bringing, like, oh, he's just pretending to be asleep. He'll soon liven up when we put this next pint down. It's like, no, he's dead.
I know. We shouldn't laugh, really, should we?
No, we shouldn't. I mean, they are missing a bit. Well, it is fiction. They're missing a bit of a trick cancelling the Halloween thing. I mean, the fact is, they've got access to Bert's wardrobe. Top prize to best zombie Bert that shows up on the night.
The actual Bert would win it.
Yeah.
I thought it was very strange. Trevor was, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Trevor, the first thing he wanted to do was get down the Bull, wasn't it?
What, to see where he died?
Because when he thought he was going back the next day, he was like, feel really bad, never got to go to the Bull. And then Rex was like, well, you can stay a bit longer and see where your dad died if you want.
I was initially irritated that it was kind of, who is this character? He's been parachuted in, and he's kind of claiming this kind of level of affection for his dad that seems, it seems ridiculous given that we've never heard of him, never had him on mic. I know there was Frida was off an off mic camera, so an off mic character, but as soon as Julian Ryan Tutt got going with being Trevor, I was like, okay, I don't care where he's from. This guy has to stick around for as long as possible. He's absolutely glorious. It was all the good things about Bert with none of the bad stuff. And I just, and then also just the fact that he was like some kind of venging karmic warrior revisiting boredom and all the most tedious characters in the village. It was wonderful.
I did enjoy that a lot, particularly Tony. How dare Tony say to others that this guy is boring, honestly.
I know, it's strange, isn't it? I mean, you consider also, I mean, I don't know how boring Leonard's brother Gerald is, but Leonard also has to put up with David and Jill. And then he was like rubbing his hands, wasn't it? I'll go first. I can take him, no problem. And then, it got to this bit where Tony is flagging. Leonard comes back in and Tony's like, I got to go home. And Leonard's like, do your fair share, you bastard. I did the first stint.
I mean, God, this is a guy whose father has just died, and they're all being really bloody awful, aren't they? This friendly villager pub people are being horrible.
I think that's the thing that both of you guys are hinting at as well, that the script writers, okay, we're going to create this boring character. Well, you know what? You've got characters like Amy, who you think you're writing as young go-getters who are rethinking their way in life, and we're meant to be inspired by them or have some empathy with them. But at the same time, I'd much rather listen to 4 episodes of Trevor than I would 4 episodes of Amy. I mean, I think if Amy if they'd in this whole speed boring exercise they did, they were going like rotating each other with the baton. I think if he'd actually end up talking to Amy, the universe would have folded in on itself.
How much of that do you think was the kind of Ryan Tut effect? Because obviously, like they were trying to write him boring and they failed miserably. Whereas they've accidentally, as you say, Matthew, created in Beth and Amy 2 of the dullest people I've heard in a long time, and that's on a show that already is fairly crammed for tedious people. But like, Julian Ryan Tut, he's such a charismatic man and such a charismatic actor that do you think a large part of it was just the relish with which he was playing the role?
Yeah,
I think so.
Possibly, but did they have to go down the route of these other dullards finding him dull? I don't know. They could have maybe had more conversations. There were people on Twitter who were gutted that he got cut off in his prime describing one of his tales because they wanted to hear more.
The cheese sandwich at Strasbourg station was a banger. In Archer's, in the kind of in the canon of Archer's conversations, that was an absolute humdinger. I was hanging on his every word.
I mean, he talks about that judge that he got on the train. I mean, that judge clearly got off at Wolverhampton to throw himself in front of the train, didn't he? But I just thought he was a fascinating character. But if they wanted to cut him off, they've got a great weapon in their armory, which is he seems to turn into a grieving, blubbering mess if you just mention rocks.
Yeah.
So just like, if he's off on one, just say, I saw a nice bit of quartzite on the way down to the vault tonight. He'll be like, that's a metamorphic rock, isn't it? And just like watch him go to pieces.
Yeah, me and my dad had a shared interest in stones. Really? And then he went, in the geological sense. Like, okay, good.
When I was doing my very average handling of the tweet along on, was it Tuesday night? One of your many nights out on the town this week, Kerry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that's all right. It's all good. I was hovering over the send button of this tweet, and then somebody came in and did all the dirty work for me, and I just retweeted it. And there was a couple of people saying this, that the reason Trevor came back with such haste was that he just remembered that his extensive porn stash was under Bert's bed. And he wanted to come back and get all his back issues of Razzle before Rex got his hands on them.
Oh, those were the good old days. I'll never find any of Cyrus's porn. It'll all be hidden in a secret sort of encrypted folder on his phone.
And don't forget, he might find yours as well. Don't forget, it's a 2-way street. That.
Well, he'll find Peter's under the bed.
Well, that's a good point. Yeah, Bill Hicks did a good joke about that, about his mum and dad going to his flat to look through his possessions and being like, looking. I wonder what's in this trunk, honey. And then he then reels off a list of absolutely unmentionable titles.
I presume largely there isn't that much shame in that anymore, is there? Really,
No.
Depending on, I accidentally sent my mum a photo that was of me, but there was something in the background that was extracurricular. But she didn't notice, I don't think. Oh my God, my mum listens to this.
Yeah, you mentioned it before, Matthew. You've mentioned it on here before because I said, was it for you or was it for your other half?
Well, it works both ways.
Well, yeah, good. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, send us the photo. But
Put that on our Instagram account, love.
Yeah, I'm going to put that and the Badger song.
my mum is a very, as I said, was saying, a very, very shrewd woman. But she's quite sort of smooth with it. She's kind of very, gentle with her intelligence. And obviously she's taken me to task on many occasions. When we moved house, but not very far, when I was about, I want to say 16, 17. And I told her I would move my bedroom. Don't touch my bedroom. I'm going to do it. Anyway, I was away for the weekend. She moved my bedroom without, going against my wishes. And I get to the new bedroom and there is a pile. She's taken all of my jazz magazines and she's stacked them by title and chronologically.
Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Count Basie.
Exactly. Yeah. Miles Davis. Don't forget that. Anyway, so I chucked them all in a bin liner, took them off to the park, and chucked them in the bin, and went home. Found my mum, and I said very shamefacedly, "Mum, I've thrown them away." Then she played it ignorant. She's like, "Oh, what, dear?" And I was like, "Magazines, Mum." And then she goes, "Oh, well, that was a waste."
The lucky person who found them as well. They're lucky.
Oh yeah, I thought of that as I was doing it. I was like, this is going to be some 14-year-olds, like 1,000 Christmases come true. But anyway, so if you're listening to this, Mum, well done.
Badger.
Oh dear. Yeah, funny old Trevor. He's much, much better than lots of the other people he was sitting with.
What did you think of that moment where he was talking to Bert?
On his own, yeah.
I found that a little unusual, and I thought some of the things he said tonight, there was a little bit of an edge to them at the end, what he was saying to Rex.
Well, yeah, this is a whole new mystery, isn't it? That thing at the end that he said about, what was it about his dad being proud of him, like a dad should be.
Yes. Was it Rex that came in and he was talking to Bert as if he was there? I can't remember the exact context of what he was saying. It reminded me of I read a thing on Johan Cruyff that said his daughter walked into their apartment living room one night and Johan Cruyff was deep in conversation with his father who'd been dead for 10 years. And this is just something that he used to do that was therapeutic. So maybe this was something that Trevor does as well. But it was a bit strange. But I'm also getting trouble is I'm listening through the filter of the fact that I listened to a bunch of Fred West's police interviews the other night, and now I'm hearing a bit of Trevor and a bit of Fred West intertwined. So maybe I'm just
He did do a lot of good work with rocks.
Are paving slabs considered to be geological treasures?
If you're an investigating officer who needs to solve a crime quickly, maybe. But yeah, sorry to any victims of Fred West listening.
Did you think the point that he was saying about, my dad was very proud of you, like a dad should be proud of a son, meaning he wasn't the implication was he wasn't as proud of me, the me being Trevor. So it sounded a little resentful, didn't it? Like
Rex did actually have to chip in and say, well, yeah, but you were his actual son. He was like, I know.
No, I thought it was Trevor showing. I thought they sometimes do this, don't they? Where they allow the rest of the they allow the other characters to sort of get stuck into someone so that they can then show you their better side, to kind of give a juxtaposed relief to the better side of.
Oh, I see. So it was to show off Rex in a good light.
To show off Rex in a good light, and to show off Trevor in a good light. And then obviously they'd warmed us up all week with having Rex disappointed by how much of a failure of a father his one is.
Yeah, because now on Twitter people are wondering if Bert is Rex's dad.
Yeah, I saw that.
I love that. I joined in.
And then that, of course, would make the relationship with Jill even more complicated. Did Jill have an affair with Bert? Is that why she was even more upset with the Fair brothers? I mean, was it just Lizzie's dalliance? What's the name of the dad? I can't remember.
Robin.
That's the one. Yeah.
He was stalking a celebrity chef, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. That was very weird. At an exclusive club. I love it when they say things like that.
And Toby was with him. Toby, who just seems to have... I mean, is Toby a non-speaking character now? He just vanished, doesn't he?
Well, there's quite a few of them, aren't there?
I would like Toby to come back. I do miss Toby. I thought he was one of the more interesting characters.
What I did wonder though, when they were looking in Bert's room together, it was Ruth and Rex, when they were sort of, oh, we better tidy it up. And they were finding bits and bobs, a picture and a couple of books and the cricket score card. And they
Razzle, May 84 to February 87.
and they found 3 cufflinks. And I was thinking, why has no one mentioned that Bert had 3 arms? That's never been actually spoken of. Is that how he was dead good at gardening and stuff?
That's how he won all the ploughing championships.
Exactly. Yeah. I just can't believe they've left it till now to tell us.
What's the significance of that, do you think? I mean, Ruth was like, there's bound to be a reason.
He just lost one of them, I suppose. It was 2 pairs. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they mentioned it. Is it for a reason? I don't know. I mean, he had 3 arms. Let's just face it.
Well, someone with a supernumerary digit is called a polydactyl.
I know that because my cat is polydactyl.
Oh,
my cat Spooks, who now lives in Shepton Mallet, is polydactyl. He has thumbs on his front and back paws, which caused many people, when they finally visited my apartment in Dublin, to go, "Oh, it wasn't Photoshop." They assumed I was faking it.
Gemma Arterton and Marilyn Monroe are 2 famous polydactyls. So there you go.
So what do they have? An extra toe or something?
I think extra fingers.
Okay.
Or I think Marilyn Monroe has extra toes. I think Gemma Arterton had an extra finger.
Gianluca Vialli had an extra toe.
Did he?
Which apparently caused. I remember watching a cup game with Chelsea Villa when he was player manager and he scored a hat trick, and they mentioned on the commentary that he had an extra toe, and my mate went, "That's cheating."
He's a very interesting guy, isn't he? Because he's an aristocrat.
Yeah, he didn't need the money, did he? His family lived in massive castles.
Yeah, chain smoking aristocrat. So he's and I also like the fact that when he made his name in Italy, he was the guy with the kind of Krusty the Clown wig. He had this kind of great big sort of
McEnroe-esque, wasn't it?
Yeah, big old bouncy perm.
He used to wear the sweatband and everything. I love Vialli. Absolutely loved him.
He's one hell of a guy.
Have we done Bert to death?
Everyone did that.
Anything else to say about? Oh, there was one thing about Rex meeting Trevor. When Rex went to the shop to get biscuits and didn't know if he's a biscuit man, and it just made me think immediately of half man, half biscuit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one of these people who sort of look, if you're going to be a feminist and you've got to protect women, I don't get upset about man bashing. I feel like we've earned a little bit of a shoeing, given our behaviour over the how many millennia. But that kind of tired generalisation is just boring. So, oh God, all right, all men like biscuits, do they? Oh, is it going to be man flu next?
Kerry, you had something you want to say about half man, half biscuit? I'm all ears for that.
Oh, well, no, I just wondered whether you guys remembered them and knew of them.
Absolutely. I love Half Man, Half Biscuit.
Yeah, the back in the DHSS album.
They had a song that they released a few years ago, which was really good, called National Shite Day. Which I would recommend anyone go and listen to that. If you don't listen to it thinking this is Half Man, Half Biscuit, you'll absolutely love it.
Yeah, because I didn't realise they are still going.
Yeah.
I remember Dickie Davis Eyes, their single. And
didn't they do Trumpton Riots?
They did, yeah.
Where were they from? They're somewhere on Merseyside they're from, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
Not
it
one of
is.
the big places. One of the... It's mentioned in their song. Birkenhead, I think they're from.
Yeah.
It gets a few mentions in their stuff.
I
love it.
Look them up then if they're still around.
They were a really cool looking band, actually.
Is it a duo?
No, there were 4 of them originally.
Oh, were
there? Yeah. Big fans of Half Man, Half Biscuit. If you haven't had a listen to them, have a listen. They deserve it. Well, there's another stray.
That's my fault.
I tell you one thing that I quite liked about the Bert thing feeding into the other thing we were talking about, or we were going to talk about, is Lily and Freddie being at each other's throats with the Russ Fest is in the middle. I thought it'd have been really good, because Freddie said he was going to ask Bert to do ghost stories and walk people around. And then he was bluffing, wasn't he, saying that he'd cancelled. So Bert went to his grave. Well, probably not, because it takes 3 weeks to go to your grave in England, doesn't it? But Bert went to his drawer believing that he's going to do the ghost stories, which they thought that made them quite happy. But I thought when Lily got wind of the fact that Freddie was like, no, I haven't told him yet. I thought Lily should have stopped Lizzie telling Freddie Bert was dead, and they could have just kept this thing going where they're like, have you told him yet? And he was like, no, I spoke to him this afternoon and he's still very excited about it. And they could have been like, have you now? Have you? All right. And just done that for 3 weeks. And then like, he's dead, Freddie.
Yeah, he died days ago, you lying little shit. Yeah. The Freddie and Lily thing, frilly, that it's a bit, why is Freddie stirring quite so much about Russ? Is it because he genuinely thinks Russ is doing naughty things with Chelsea, or is it more a case of him just thinking that Russ is a general slimeball and shouldn't be in his sister's life, so wants to put her off him? Or none of those things?
I think Russ is just has more agency around Lower Loxley now, and that annoys Freddie.
Yeah, I was going to say it has nothing to do with Lily.
Yeah, the breakfast table, Russ was like, he burst in, he's dynamic, isn't he? We need to do this, this, and this. And Freddie's like, morning, Russ. And he's like, Freddie, and just keeps going. I did also enjoy, and I know there was a backlash to this, but Russ calling Freddie an annoying little tick. I did punch the air at that point. I was like, yeah, I'm with you with that. But many people feel the same way about Russ, but you're meant to feel that way about Russ. And I don't think a lot of people either feel that way or that the intention is to feel that way about Freddie.
Okay, so you think it's purely based on the man about the house?
I think it is a little bit that, Elizabeth has got a lot more time for Russ's ideas than she used to have. And I think the last few things that Freddie thought up were a bit pants, weren't they? And I think that's where it was coming to at the end. Bert is kind of the uniting factor in all of this, isn't he? Lily was saying to Russ, you should have, whereas Lizzie was saying before, well, you have to cancel and I'm not going to feel guilty about it. And it's like, oh, he's dead. It was like, it was a lovely thought, Freddie. That terribly shit idea that you had earlier is now a lovely thought. And
that was annoying by Lily, I thought. Such a kind thought.
Yeah, and now she's trying.
You were trashing it a minute ago.
I do like the way Russ was resistant to it. He was like, but that wouldn't be true, would it? If I went and told him he was actually had a good idea and it was worthwhile, that would be a lie. Good old Russ.
I know. There is a lot about him and how he deals with people that I like. And I think we get in hot water still now on Twitter by saying we like him. I think still people think you shouldn't like Russ because he's horrible and a predatory male, and miss the point about why it's good to have him, valuable having him in the Archers.
And Russ is like a nuclear version of how I feel about Pip. Like I said last week, yeah, Pip's bloody awful, but I like her being awful in the Archers.
A guy at school was asked about me once, about how he could have like stomach me because it was well known he hated me, and then he said, "Oh, but Peter's easy to deal with because I know, because I don't have to be worried about him because I know Peter doesn't like me and he knows that I don't like him, so we just get on with life." And I sort of, that's like all of the kind of nasty characters never stress me out because they tend to be quite consistent. So it's just like, oh, here we go. Like the people who cause me stress in the Archers are people like Lillian, who I used to adore, and then the current iteration I find really irritating. Justin, who I used to really like. Actually, I was thinking about him in terms of Trevor. Like Trevor's got a kind of pantomime-ish, cartoonish, nonsensy quality that really tickles my funny bone. And Justin was the same when he first arrived. He could quite often make me laugh out loud, and now I find him tedious. So actually, Jakob, Kate, Russ, all these characters that you hear their voice and you know exactly what you're going to get for the next few minutes, and 9 times out of 10 it's at least thought-provoking, if not entertaining.
It was weird when Lily said, when she was in the kitchen and Lizzie burst in, and Lily went, I was just chopping some chives, want to join us?
Yeah, was it join us for lunch or join us for chopping chives?
For chive chopping.
Chopping chives is one of the most annoying things that you can do, and it's also one of the first jobs a head chef in a fine dining place will give someone to test if they actually know how to chop chives.
Oh, but it's quite satisfying with a super sharp knife, though.
Yeah.
I did enjoy as well, going back to the harvest supper. Oh, actually, I googled Harvest Supper Brighton just to see, were there any around this area? How are they advertised? And what came up was the Harvester on Madeira Drive on the seafront.
Do you remember a couple of weeks ago I mentioned the Harvester, that my friend there went there for Christmas
Yeah.
Christmas dinner, and he messaged me and said, I'd completely forgot I went to the Harvester for Christmas dinner. I was like, that's what we're here for.
Yes, provoking memories. No, yeah, and then I did find a few sort of churchy ones, more out of the town centre, and it was cheap tickets, 2-course meal amongst friends. It did sound quite convivial, actually.
I was a bit spooked when Jill just went, "You are the harvest." I got real like Lord Summerisle in The Wicker Man, like suddenly Carrie style, all the doors slammed shut of the barn, no one escaped, and it was just an absolute bloodbath while Jill cackled on the stage covered in pig's blood.
Eating everybody. Yeah, I did tweet that was like, it made me think of Soylent Green. The film.
That's where they all get put in a pill, isn't it? Soylent Green, is it?
Yeah,
That
they sort. Yeah. Basically, you end up being consumed. Lovely.
well, that's how it's going to go in the future, isn't it? Didn't I think a leading politician this week suggested that humans could be eaten by animals at a climate conference in Scotland?
Yes, he did, didn't he?
So there we go.
Oh, what a twat. Shouldn't
Hang
get
on,
too
no,
political.
sorry, we want coverage in the Times. Don't say that.
Can't get too political.
One thing I thought was a missed opportunity. Isn't it, all of these people that were doing this speed bore thing, to go back to Trevor? So we heard that Tom, Natasha, Jim, Fallon, and Harrison were all in the pub. I reckon Jim could have taken him down. I reckon Jim could have dealt with him easily.
Ah,
He would have probably given as good as he got, and he could have probably. Jim would have probably listened to him. He would have probably quite happily sat and absorbed it all, because Tony described it as a dark cave that you're drawn into.
no, for God's sake.
But it's no. To go back to what we were talking about, there's no hiding the fact that Tony is boring. They joke about it in the show, don't they? That Tony, him and his trains. The only failure with Trevor and Tony was like, all that Trevor needed to do was, just imagine these trains were tiny, and then Tony would have been like,
now you're talking.
yes, what? You mean like the scale is different?
Mm.
No, it was a bit weird, wasn't it? The idea that Tony was bored about him talking about trains. I did sort of think that was a kind of a strange choice by the scriptwriters. It's like, well, come on, Trevor could bore about literally anything, and you've got him literally boring Tony about the only thing Tony ever talks about.
Yeah, I just think it was pretty shoddy. When their parent has just died? What is it showing these people to be like? Should they not have been sort of saying, "How are you doing? Are you okay?" No one ever said that to him, did they?
If you're trapped with a Trevor, start being interested, because you can almost view them. You can almost view them like a kind of character study for something, for further use. Like, there's always something about someone that's interesting, even if it's not necessarily the thing that they're trying to interest you with. So it says as much about the people if they can't talk to someone like Trevor and find something interesting about the situation, if nothing but just to kind of like sort of draw a light sketch of this person for future use.
It just seemed to me that they wanted to talk about themselves and not listen to him.
It's all downright rude, I think, and he's a grieving son.
I mean, I've known some pretty challenging people, Trevor-esque people, like over the years, living in shared houses and stuff like that. But you do find, I'm very good at finding something that I like about those people.
Yeah, exactly.
But I've taken them into social situations, and other people have said, "God, my God, like I can't listen to him," and blah blah blah. And it's like, or listen to her, and I was like, well, just go with it, like
engage with them,
yeah,
engage.
I just don't understand how you can. All right, if someone's just an appalling person, they have appalling views, appalling politics, or according to what your politics are, then yeah, of course, by all means. But if someone's just, rabbiting on a bit, can't you listen for a bit?
Sorry to get a bit meta about this, but one of the things, we've been doing this podcast for a long time. Kerry and I have been sort of doing various, 2 podcasts for a little bit longer, and like it's not a particularly difficult thing to do. But the one of the few skills is actually just being interested in other people and actually sitting down ready to listen to other people for 45 minutes. It's not actually about talking particularly. It's more about, sitting here and thinking what on earth they're going to say and almost being a proxy for the audience. I mean, it's, as I said, it's not difficult, but if you're not interested in the other people, there's no point doing it.
Yeah.
I'm certainly not trying to blow smoke up our own asses. I'm just trying to say, like, if us three Muppets can sit and do this, then surely you can sit in a pub and listen to Trevor.
Oh. Yeah, there it is. I mean, and beyond that, beyond the medium of talking, I mean, there's enough interesting people out there that listen to the Archers on Twitter that have enough to say about it as well. So we engage with a lot of them. Yeah, I think it's a bit of snobbery, isn't it, to just write someone off as boring. I can pull up a chair and listen to someone who talks a lot. I'll happily sit there for a few hours and listen to them go on and on. But that's just me. We hope you feel the same, listeners.
Yeah.
They've all switched off by now.
They're all screaming badger.
Badger. Yeah. I did actually laugh when that happened.
Me
I
too.
surprised myself. I thought that bit was quite well done when Tony was going, badger, and was trapped.
And then the bit where he was like, my phone rang, he went, I didn't hear it.
Yeah.
Lightning fast.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And I'm not saying this in a snide way, but I was too upset on Trevor's behalf to find that funny.
Oh, right, yeah.
I don't mean that like, I wasn't genuinely hurt, but I was kind of, I didn't laugh as I should have done because I was too kind of indignant already.
What's the writing there? Are they writing him as too dim to realise he's the figure of not fun, but he's boring, the figure of ridicule, or is he too nice a person to believe that someone would be doing what Tony and Eddie and everyone else was doing?
I thought of Kerry when it was happening because, don't worry, Kerry, that's not rude. I thought of Kerry because
I often think of Kerry when I'm doing stuff.
And yeah, Kerry's a memorable person. But I think I want to say 3 or 4 weeks ago, Kerry, you were quite indignant because Russ and Lily were insulting Tracy by trying to talk in code to get out of doing something with her. And you were saying Tracy's just not stupid enough for that to fly as a kind of as a well-written scene. And I thought
that was the Amnesia conference.
That's
yes.
it. Yeah.
But I thought, Peter, that you felt that Tracy knew that was happening.
I did. That's what I thought. But maybe that's me just trying to be too nice to Tracy. But I think it's the same style of writing. I think it's kind of like they're sort of, I don't know if there's even a word for it, but kind of almost sort of they're kind of grazing the fourth wall with a kind of a knowing wink to the audience.
I see. Yeah, I think I laughed at the ridiculousness of it, and it was Tony panicking. I don't know. I've actually detached myself from the fact that this even had anything to do with poor Trevor. It was just the weirdness of Tony shouting "Badger."
It was the second one was very impassioned, wasn't it? He was like, "Badger."
Yeah.
Do you think it's like more Cowbell, the famous Christopher Walken sketch, like the editor of The Archers and the actor playing Tony was just like, "Badger." It's like, no, I need more Badger, Tony. Come on, lean into it. More better Badger. No. Come on, you can do it. Bigger.
Locked him into a room, played him Brian May's Save the Badgers for 4 hours, and then brought him back out for that scene.
Yeah, Save the Badgers is a different thing from Badger. I'm telling you.
No, it's not, because it goes Badger, 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 Save the Badgers.
Oh, but in the one that it doesn't say Save the Badgers. Okay, we'll do some off mic research.
We could do.
We're probably both right.
In terms of Tony, by the way, at the beginning of Wednesday's episode, I didn't recognise his voice at all.
Me neither. I was talking to Jeremy today about that.
I thought they'd got a different actor in.
It was so weird. I had to write it down because he sort of went. He sounded like he may have the cold I've had.
Yeah, maybe.
Because his voice was just a bit off.
Yeah.
And he came to that door, didn't he? Went, Rex, I was just passing. And then went, Rex? And then the other person who we hadn't ever heard before went, no, not really.
Yeah.
I was like, what the is going on here?
Yeah, I was completely lost at the beginning of that. And then a little bit into it, I was like, oh, that's Tony. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, exactly the same.
Strange, wasn't it? I like the bit where Rex arrived and he was like, no, don't tell him about the journey.
Yeah. I wonder, obviously he's going to hang around a bit more, isn't he? And like you say, the funeral will take a while to sort out.
I mean, we don't know what Trevor's got in mind. There might be funerals.
You think they'll ever do a Green Wing reunion and get Tamsin Outhwaite? What's her name? Tamsin Greig in the same scene. So we'll have Debbie and Trevor in the same scene.
Well, Debbie and Trevor also met on Black Books.
Of course. Yeah.
That would be great. It would, the day that she returns will be a marvelous.
I'll dig a photo out of that. I've got. That was in the final series, wasn't it? That he was in it, I think.
Hey, just before we finish, can I just ask you what you thought about Ben and his, wondering, he had to make choices about his nursing and said, is he going to go down the elderly route? And so Ruth just said, come out with me and Bert tonight for some drinks and that'll help you decide what he's going to base his career decision on, some pints with Bert. I mean, as it turned out.
Yeah. So how did that go, Ben?
Yeah. He then felt like he had to ditch that because he froze at the point at which stuff was happening and he wasn't able to help. It seems to be very strange basis upon which he's deciding what to do at nursing college.
Well, originally Ruth had some kind of a half-baked conversation with him about, being a mum, and that was that inspired him to be a nurse in the first place way back when. Then Ruth says go to the pub, and he's like, oh well, like hanging out with Bert, yeah, that'll help me decide whether I want to go into geriatric care. Then now the fact that he didn't immediately know what to do when someone carked it over a cribbage board next to him means it's just I mean the worst of it is we're going to have hear him talking to Beth more. That's all I thought was like, oh god, more Beth. It's always about me.
That's a shame, though, isn't it? I really wanted to like Beth, but she seems to have that balance of indignant and boring and slightly belligerent. I'm like, I don't really like any of those qualities. Really.
No, I think like if you have someone like Kate, who's kind of
a lunatic,
bombastic, but sort of, like Lillian or Kate, you'd go out with them knowing that yes, they are wildly inappropriate and going to get you into all kinds of trouble, but you're never going to be bored. Well, Beth seems to have all of the trouble, but none of the fun.
Yeah, she started more promisingly, didn't she?
Well, she's the daughter of Vince Casey. How can she be such a wrong one?
The Caseys.
Yeah, and I'm sad that Iris she was brought in and then swept back out again. We haven't heard much from her, have we? Well, almost only that week in Lower Loxley. We didn't hear her at the wedding, did we?
No, this is true.
Missed opportunity, I think.
We're being played with.
We are. We're being toyed with. I did feel, just finally, Rex felt guilty that he hadn't given Bert a proper farewell, didn't he? He said he just kind of said, see you later, over his shoulder. He went, I wish I'd said something more proper, more profound. Like, enjoy your pint, Bert. Your last pint.
Yeah, Ruth was quite sweet then, wasn't she? Saying, oh, that's just what life's like.
And she's like, I don't even talk to David when he leaves the house.
I quite enjoyed this week, even though Bert died, which sounds a bit...
Yeah, that was a bit sad, but, it was good. Like, there were laughs and there were tears slightly, weren't there? I thought it was very well done this week.
Yeah.
And we got through, and thank the harvest supper is done with.
Yeah, it was rather non-eventful, wasn't it? The old Jill with her, shall I tell this risque story about bloomers? And then led us down a slight path as if she was going to, and then screeched off to the other direction.
We never got our bit of blue.
No, a bit of blue for the dads. Yeah. Oh, yeah, well done. Bit of bloomers for the dads. Yeah,
well, we got a bit of blue. Well, there was a bit of blue in the pills that Bert mentioned in his poetry.
Yeah, and he wrote a whole poem about a visit to the chemist. Yeah, that was that one, wasn't it? And Russell went, and we had an hour of him cutting his bloody toenails.
When Trevor left, I felt I'd be a loner, but with these blue pills, I got my final.
You can see it coming, but it doesn't make it any less funny.
Ooh.
Brilliant.
And on that note,
should we mention our socials?
Yeah, Bert's boner.
That's not. Yeah, that's our new website.
That's
guys.
our new Twitter handle.
Bert'sBoner.com.
Oh dear. Yeah, well, you can find us on Twitter should you wish to.
R.I.P. Bert.
Yep. At the Cider Shed Pod.
You can email us at hello@thecidershed.com.
You can find us on Instagram we are at the Cider Shed Pod, and we have a Facebook group which is called the Cider Shed Podcast. I got a couple of messages from a couple of weeks ago. I forgot to mention this. People slightly concerned my parents used to beat me.
Oh no.
Because I kind of joked that they used to put on rumors and kick me around the kitchen. I want to be clear, like, it was the 80s. My parents aren't savages. It was Tango in the Night.
I bet your mother's very pleased with that. That correction.
Yeah, I'll get another message on Sunday.
Matthew.
That's
Next week
uncanny.
I'll be offering a corrective about the exact number of porn mags that were on that my mum had to stack up. It'll be,
I've got a great story about poor mags, but it's secondhand, and it's not for the air, I'm afraid. So
Oh.
it's a friend that oh God, am I going to tell this? No, I'm not.
Oh, go on.
Oh, a friend of mine. I think I might have to edit that out.
Okay. We'll end on Bert's boner instead.
Yes. To Bert's boner, everyone.
have fun.
See you next week.
Bye.